friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today we're going to be talking about the end of the year book tag. I think in the past I've always saved this tag for December, but when I really think about the questions, they are meant for as we move closer into the end of the year, kind of the last quarter. They're definitely not meant for the very end of the year. So I'm doing it a little bit earlier than I normally do. And I think that that's going to be good. It's inspiring me. There are just 6 questions to this tag, and I believe Ariel Bissett is the one who created it. I'll try to find the original and link it down below. I love this tag, and I like how it gets me thinking about next year, but also thinking about the last couple months of the year and what do I want to read as we close out 2021. The first question is, are there any books that you've started this year and you still want to finish? And I have 2 actually, and they are both Les Mis related. So I have started this abridged version of Les Mis. It's an engaging visual journey. It's a beautiful book. There are lots of words, but there we go. There's some illustrations. There are some illustrations throughout. It does have at the beginning a timeline of everything, and it also gives a brief synopsis of all of the, all of the different characters. I am really enjoying reading this, even though I did read the unabridged version already this year. I like reading this shortened version without all the side tangents that Victor Hugo likes to go on. So I'm more than halfway. I definitely think I can finish this before the end of the year. It's gonna happen. And the second Les Mis related book that I would like to finish this year is a nonfiction called 52 Little Lessons from Les Mis by Bob Welch. And I've only just barely begun this one, but I would like to continue reading this since Les Mis is so fresh on my mind. These are almost like little devotional thoughts. Each chapter is pretty short. It's not strictly a devotional, but it does kind of come from a faith-based background, but also just things to think about as you read Les Mis and as you remember the stories from Les Mis, the characters and the themes, things to think about and apply to your own life. So I'm really excited about this. This was gifted to me by one of my subscribers. Actually, both of these were. So thank you so much, lovely ladies. And those are the 2 books that I definitely would love to finish before the end of 2021. Number 2 asks, do you have an autumnal book that you're going to read to transition you into this time of year? Well, we are kind of in autumn. It's the middle of October almost. And the book that I'm going to answer for this question is A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. This is by the author of The Kite Runner. And I think, first of all, the cover of this is very autumnal, like just in the colors. And it's historical fiction, which is something I like to read in the fall. Well, let's be honest, I like to read historical fiction all year long. But I do think that this is the feel of this is a little bit heavy. It's deeper. It's not a light and fluffy read whatsoever. If you know this author, then you'll know that's not the type of book that he writes. But it also has like Splendid Suns, which is a summary title, but it's not a summary book. It doesn't have a summary vibe whatsoever. I'm already into this one. So this is the book that's transitioning me into more fall weather. We're not quite in the fall weather here. We are cooling down a little bit in Virginia, but it's still a little bit hot. This one also takes place in Afghanistan, just like The Kite Runner did. So I love seeing the culture that's included in here and just the differences in the way families are set up and different cultural norms that are present in Afghanistan that are different from what I'm familiar with. I just think that that's super interesting to learn about. But I also find it to be a little bit heavy. It's almost a coming of age at the beginning where I am so far. This younger girl is almost forced into this marriage that she was not really looking forward to, but she's trying to make the best of it. And it just is, yeah, it's pretty heavy. And I'm really enjoying reading it. But yeah, I think this is a good transition book. Number 3 asks if there's a new release that I'm still waiting for. Yes, there are quite a few. I did an anticipated reads video 4 times this year, so you can watch my last quarter books. You can watch my anticipated reads for the last quarter of October, November, and December. But one that stands out in my mind because I'm currently reading the Lunar Chronicles, I'm really excited for Gilded by Marissa Meyer, which is going to be a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. So of the ones that are on that anticipated reads list for the end of the year, I'm really excited for this one. I think because I'm just enjoying her retellings in the Lunar Chronicles so much right now. I'm so invested in these stories, and I just think another retelling by her will be fantastic. Number 4 asks, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? I have so many. I have so many books I want to read by the end of the year, but I did pull off 3 books from my recommendations cart that were recommended to me by a handful of you guys. More than 4 or 5 of you recommended that I read these books, and I haven't yet read them. Yikes. So we have Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen, which is going to take place at a circus, and I believe it's going to have some animal situations in here that might be kind of hard, but I do like that there are random... Oh, that's not a good one to show. She's naked. It does have some photography included in the book, which is kind of an interesting thing that I wasn't really aware of until recently. So there are different pictures of people. I don't know if they're people in the stories, or I don't know what this is really going to be. I just know it's going to be a circus book. It's going to have elephants, and it's going to be sad. I never watched the adaptation of this, so I really have no idea what this story is about, but quite a few of you want me to read that one. And I know a lot of you really love that one. The Red Tent by Anita Diamant, which I can't believe I haven't read this yet, but this is almost a biblical fiction book, and it follows Dinah, who is one of Jacob's daughters. Like, we hear about Jacob's sons all the time. They became the 12 tribes of Israel, but Dinah is his daughter. And so this is going to deal with like the women side of the story in a way. And I know so many of you really, really love this one. I got to get those stickers off. I hate them. So many of you really love this one. And so I really want to read it, but I just haven't done it yet. And then the third one that I would love to read before the end of the year is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I feel like this is a good fall book as well. This is by Stuart Turton. And I do think this has had some mixed reviews, but I think in this one, it's set up as a murder mystery. There's a party of some sort and somebody dies. And then this one person has the task of discovering who it is, but every day or something, he wakes up in a different body of somebody who was present at this party. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I think about this one. It could be a little bit confusing just because of its structure, but I am very eager to read it, and so many of you have recommended that I read it, so I would like to read that one. So those are the 3 that I would love to put on my end of the year TBR. If I did something like that, I guess I just did. Number 5 asks, is there a book that you think could still shock you and become a favorite of the year? I feel like it would be a shock if anything that I read towards the end of the year beats out some of my favorites already this year. I have really loved Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon, and This Tender Land, and Mere Christianity. Like, there are a handful of books that, oh, The Girl with the Louding Voice, that already are kind of on my radar as my favorites of the year. I did do a mid-year favorites video where I talked about 5 books that I loved. And I don't know, I feel like it's possible that 1,000 Splendid Suns could be up there in my favorites list based on what I've read so far and what I've heard from other people. This is a possibility. All of these are favorites of so many that maybe they'll become a favorite of mine. I really don't know. I really don't know. I guess one other that I'm planning to read this fall that I'm very excited about is Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pierce. This was gifted to me by Gloria. She sent this to me recently in a surprise package that was just so wonderful and kind, and I'm so gracious, and I'm so thankful. But I'm really excited about this book. It has a World War II fiction historical element, which I always love. And then I've heard it has kind of a lighter vibe, similar in a way to the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which I absolutely love. So I like that combination of like a lighter, heartwarming vibe to a time period that was not heartwarming or light and by any means. And I think in this one, there's a young woman who wants to be a war correspondent, but ends up answering letters for an advice column instead. And so I just feel like that will be really delightful. And it's possible that this could make it up onto my favorites of the year. I'm really hopeful that it does, actually. The last question, number 6, asks, have I started making plans for 2022, for the next year? And the answer to that is kind of. I have nothing written down, set in stone. These are going to be my goals or plans for 2022. I'm debating doing away with the recommendations cart, which I've done for the last 3 years. I'm debating switching up how I do my goals slightly. Not how I do them, but I've had basically the same types of goals for the last 3 years. So I'm thinking of switching that up a little. So everything is kind of up here right now. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing is written down. So the answer to that is a little bit. I've started making plans a little bit for next year, which is not super helpful for this tag, but yeah, I have so many books. I mean, the goal is always read from my shelves because I have so many books on my shelves that I would love to read. And I like to make smaller goals that help me accomplish that. Yeah, there are things that I'm thinking about casually for goals for next year, but nothing is set in stone yet. I would love to know from you though, do you have a book that you think could be a favorite of the year? Have you started making goals for next year? I would love to hear your answers to these questions down in the comments below. You guys know I love talking with you down there. Let's talk about my answers or anything else that you want to talk about. I love chatting with you down there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Can you believe the year is almost over? So let's do it. Let's get to reading. I know there's so many good books out there still yet to read. I hope you're reading a good one right now. I'll talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.